Hey guys, it is the last day of August, August 31st at 5:04 p.m. instead of a.m. for once. I didn't make a video yesterday. I started to, but it was one of those days where I talked for 2 or 3 minutes, and then the idea of continuing to talk was just too much for me. I couldn't think of anything to say. It seemed like an enormous bother. So I just turned it off, deleted the beginning of my ramblings, and thought I'd take another whack at it today. Some of the reason there that I was having trouble talking is that I've kind of tried to put an embargo on myself talking about glum stuff, stuff that doesn't make me happy. But as 2020's ongoing Annie is climbing around under my desk is part of 2020's ongoing campaign to make me sad. My psychological suspense novel, which is called She Killed Him First. My agent declared it dead in the water. She worked really hard. She spent over a year submitting it to tons of editors. You would not believe the number of rejections I have on this book. But it has gone everywhere it can go, and the subject matter, the time between when I wrote it and when I published it is just so different. It was a risky proposition then. Oh my gosh, I don't have the pop filter in place. Sorry about the popping. My book was a risky proposition when I wrote it a couple of years ago. And now, with changing times and things as they are, it's even just, it doesn't stand a chance. So I've actually, this one book is really, its fate is representative of two books. I wrote two very tightly branded psychological suspense novels with similar story format, tone, sort of theming, very intense, dark books. And so for many of the same reasons that the first one doesn't have anywhere to go, the second one is unlikely to do anything differently. So it's sad, to hear that this one thing that I had been hoping would pan out for a while is definitely not going to pan out. It's not like it's the end of the book. I mean, at worst, I really got two options, right? I can self-publish, which I'll talk to my agent about that later. I might do that. Or I could write another psychological suspense novel that might be more appropriate and easier to get published, and then try to offer those books as like bonuses. I don't know that I'm patient enough for that one. These books are such time capsules in the first place. They're very of the day they were written, like literally the day they were written. The books correlate to real world calendar and events and stuff. And so they're already pretty much just like a time capsule for 2016, 2017. And I think I should have self-published them 2 years ago, honestly, is kind of what I think. But I had to try something new with them. My agent is still my agent, even though this is the project she represents me. I ended up on her list with this project, but I'm gonna send her some other stuff to try, and hopefully that partnership will continue. Hopefully I'll sell something else. It's just another hit to take. I've known for a really long time, like months, like since the beginning of 2020, I knew that we had already pretty much expended all of our good likely options, but she kept working on it all year. And so I've known for a while that the book probably wasn't going to go anywhere. It's not a surprise. It's still disappointing to have that door closed. But let's move on to the next thing. I keep getting so down because it occurs to me I haven't really had any exciting publishing milestones since 2014, maybe 2015. So, half a decade of just like I really peaked in my sales in those years, and I hit a couple of bestseller lists. And then things happened and mental health happened. I decided to do different things than what I'd previously done because I was unhappy then. I was really unhappy. And I've been a lot happier in the last 5 years, but also nothing I've tried has succeeded. And none of the publishing things I've tried have succeeded. Different strategies, different trying to exploit different rights and trying to attempt different genres and stuff. Nothing is really, I haven't been able to carry any of these things to satisfying fruition, I suppose. And it's disheartening to feel like I haven't hit any milestones in the last 5 or 6 years. When I stepped back from doing the stuff that I knew made me the most money, I was like, it's okay because you're trying this new thing and, your sales and stuff are going to dip for a little while, but then you're going to pick up somewhere else, doing something that expands your career and expands you as an artist. And that pickup hasn't happened. That doesn't mean it won't happen. It just hasn't happened yet for the last 5 or 6 years. It's hard to complain. I still have a great job. And I have so many great readers. And there are people who look forward to my books. There's really nothing that, when you look at it, there's really nothing that I want more than that. Annie can't miss a video. So it sucks to try things and to feel like that attempt failed because I didn't get what I hoped out of it. But it's also, I'm still in such a good situation. It would be really weird to complain about it. I don't feel like I have complaints, just kind of disappointment that has to be processed. Aside from that, I am working ahead on You've Got Nudes. I am over 55,000 words on this book, so I would guess I only have about 15,000 words left to go of the rough draft. But it feels like I'm not that far along because I'm still missing some really key scenes in the emotional arc. I've written most of the ending, and I've written a lot of the highlights of the relationship and the big sex scene for this book, but I'm missing some of the big revelations and stuff. So it feels like not as much of the book is there as I kind of think it is. But I've already kind of started editing the book, even though there's still lots to write. And I've done this before, and it never turns out as well. Or it's always a lot more difficult to revise when I do it like this. But this book has taken me so long anyway. What is going to be a few more weeks or months of this when I've already been doing fisticuffs with this book for so long? I'm glad I've, in the last week, really started getting a bit more work done because, as I mentioned, I've been doing writing sprints over Zoom with some of my urban fantasy author colleagues. They're so cool. And it really helps to have these check-ins where it's like, okay, we're going to just work for a half an hour and then check back in with each other. And that feeling of accountability is really nice. And these author friends of mine have really remained productive through the whole craziness of the year. And so hopefully now that I'm joining them, I will get to soak up some of that productivity. I really want to get back to writing the Descent verse, honestly. I did not want to be writing it earlier this year or the last several years. I've been really burned out on it. So I've been focusing on other books for so long that I'm really starting to pine for the Descent series. I feel like it's coming back to me. It might be in part because April 2021, will officially be 10 years since I published Six Moon Summer, which was my first book that I published as SM Rain. And that's a big milestone. 10 years. So much has changed in 10 years in my books and in my life and in the world. So I guess I'm feeling really retrospective about it. I recently revised the Seasons of the Moon books before sending them off for audiobook production. And in rereading those books, I really found myself wanting to write more Seasons of the Moon books, which is not something that would be possible for traditionally published fiction, because this series has been also over for 9 years, and Riley and Seth and Abel have showed up in books since then, like a lot of books, including like the King Chronicles, which happens not long after. But when I was reading the books in Seasons of the Moon, there's one book for each season, so that it goes from summer to fall to winter to spring. And so it doesn't show that entire season. And so as I was reading them, I was like, I have so many small stories I could tell in between these. And I could probably write whole books in between some of them. I could certainly write whole books in between Seasons of the Moon and the King Chronicles. It feels so self-indulgent. I know there are definitely some people who would enjoy it. I mean, there's probably a couple people who watch this video and be like, write it. And you tempt me, and I'm tempted. But truthfully, people are already so confused by the non-linearity of my series and how it sprawls everywhere, that the idea of trying to explain why Seasons of the Moon has like book 2.5 or book 4.5 is like, I just don't want to do it. But I do want to write it, so I don't know. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I keep finding myself drawing pictures of Riley and Seth again. 10 years, man. That's almost a third of my life. I'm 32 years old. So going back... Sorry for the rattling. That's Annie. She's feeding herself. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick it up, but King is also snoring on the couch next to me. Anyway, so 10 years, it's such a weird mental place to travel to go that far into the past. It's fun. So I'm going to cut off here for today, and hopefully you can wake me up when September begins. I'll talk to you tomorrow, if the world is still here. Bye.